Dusty, snap out of it!
Any of this look familiar?
Our constellation contact is on approach.
Yeah, but come on. Exploring space? Who does that anymore? Ain't the space we've already got complicated enough?
Welcome aboard the Starfield Report podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Starfield Report podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Smyson, and with me, as always, is Jax. How you doing, Jax?
Doing great. Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing out there in the deep, dark universe?
We are pillaging and plundering and making a name for ourselves as we adventure through the stars.
That's right.
Although, in my case, I haven't done a whole lot in the last couple weeks because of we finished up the main quest here on the podcast, and I was taking the opportunity to play a lot of Jedi Soul Survivor, which is part 2 of the Cal Kestis series, and so I'm definitely enjoying the game. A nice little break from Starfield, and it really makes me wish the combat, the melee combat in particular, along with the powers, was more dynamic in Starfield. They don't necessarily have to be as dynamic as the Star Wars game, but if they did a little bit more to have some combos, because I was actually comparing like the controls, because it just, you're more intense with your force push and your force pull, and you're throwing your lightsaber with certain attacks. I'm like, they could have definitely included some more combos in the melee combat just to make it more interesting, because you can pull your right trigger when you have your melee weapon equipped, and then you can pull left trigger to block, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, and then you have, and then also you can click the melee, which I think does like a quick jab. Like whatever your gun melee attack is, you click that same, when you have your melee weapon attack, and then you just have a different, slightly different attack.
Gotcha.
But it'd be awesome if they were able to incorporate the Starborn powers as combos with the melee, just to make it more unique. Like maybe there was, like, so you don't have to tap like on the controller. We tap both. We tap both to hit the power, right? Mm-hmm. And then that activates it and uses your or your mana or whatever, your magicka, right? Whatever, your essence, whatever that is, right? I don't even think you technically ever named it. Essences are the things that help you recharge faster. But like, imagine if you could, hit, you do a melee attack, and it just slows down time just a little bit each time you do it, like you're using the FaceTime power, but it doesn't necessarily just pop the power the whole time. It just does it while you're doing that attack to help you land that one specific attack, and as soon as you finish the movement, it goes back into normal speed. And it uses just a little portion of your magicka instead.
I wonder if any of those Starfield creations for Star Wars, they've got Tatooine, they've got the what's the name of the Mos Eisley Space Center, but those are 2 individual mods, so you can have the whole planet of Tatooine, and then you can have Mos Eisley there on Tatooine. I would guess that's how that works.
Yeah.
I wonder if they do any of those Star Wars mods overhaul the powers to give you a little more Jedi kind of a feel.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see, because on one of my NG pluses, I do want to just for the giggles of it and the shits, is just play either like a Jedi or a Sith character and try to be very strict in role playing that of like, you are from that galaxy far a long time ago and far away, and through magic or the Force, you end up in the Starfield universe, right? So get the robes, get a lightsaber, the whole 9 yards, and just pretend you're literally that character through some Force thing. You're dropped into the Starfield galaxy.
I was completely thinking about that last night when I was thinking about our podcast this morning. And I had this total vision of being like, what's the scene where Darth Vader comes into view and he's like slowly lowered into the frame, and then he floats down the hallway and he's killing people as he goes?
Oh, are you thinking from Rogue One?
I can't remember the exact scene. You're much more of a fan than me, so I'm relying on your memory. But I totally had this vision in my head of you as a Starborn, come lowering down in your Starborn, through the hatch, like you board a ship, and you come lower into frame, right? And as you go through, you're doing your star sense. So now you know where everybody is.
Yep.
And then you can start doing gravity well through the wall, and you could do, force push down the hallway and never touch a weapon, like you say, and just make your way through the ship, gliding through the ship, right? And just killing people as you go using your force powers. Very Jedi, Sith Lord kind of a ship takeover. And I totally had this whole scene in my head. I was probably half asleep, so it was probably half a dream.
Yeah.
But it was, I can just very vividly imagine this scene in my head, and never touch a weapon once. Once you get to Starborn powers level 10, where they're maxed.
Yeah.
And you just roll through the whole playthrough, like you're saying.
Yep.
Never touch a weapon, just force powers.
Yeah. That's just the idea I have. And
powers.
What's that?
I said not force powers, Starborn powers.
Yeah, Starborn powers, force powers. That's the same thing. There's no lightning, but you do have there's the solar flare, and which is where you shoot the ball of solar power light explosion, fireball, and then there's I think the Nova burst, right? The one where it radiates out from you. So you have a couple that do damage. Well, and there's also the one that allows you to steal health.
Life forced. Transfer the very life force of an enemy. It just says power. For the cost, it doesn't have a name. It doesn't say Starborn power, right?
Yeah.
It just power, like you said. Is that actual little blue bar named? What is the actual name of those power points? It doesn't say. It just says power. Cost 25. Total. My total power is 60.
Yeah, I saw a spreadsheet that showed how much at each tier of the power as you're going through the Unity leveling them up, at each tier, how much it costs, how long it lasts, or stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm NG plus 6 now. Okay, all my powers are at 5, which means that's NG plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm NG plus 5 now. And then, but I have not yet gone to any of the temples in my new universe because I just barely went through the Unity again. But yeah, it'd be fun to play that. And the only thing I'd have to do is probably just use a cheat code to give myself a crap ton of the Starborn essences, which we were talking in the last podcast. It's frustrating that you can't hotkey those because you have to go into the menu and activate those. And I need to see how long those last, but I want to say they last maybe about a minute. So if you're trying to play a character that has this way better power regeneration because you're trying to role play something specific, you have to constantly go into your menu to activate that. I mean, depending on what you're doing, I mean, that's why I would still at least have the melee. I'll find a lightsaber mod, and just do it that way.
Yeah, that's easy. Lightsaber mod, that's definitely out there, and there's probably a couple of different ones. And just do some checking on it and research to figure out which one everybody seems to think is working the best and having the fewest issues.
Yeah.
Imagine there's more than one.
Well, speaking of mods, we're going to be doing a little mod talk today. So
yes, we are.
All right, so my mod, which was something we mentioned, or I mentioned last week, you asked me about, is immersive landing ramps. Because when I think we were talking about our hotkeys, and I said something about the landing bay remote, and you're like, "Ooh, what's that?" Well,
Right.
so in the immersive landing ramps, what you get, it allows you to control your landing ramp opening and closing anytime you want, and when you download the mod, you will start off by having the remote, which I'm going to go ahead and show this right here. So when you download the mod, you'll get this landing ramp remote in your inventory, and handy little device here, or sorry, it's in your ship's cargo hold, but then you put it in your inventory, and then you can hotkey it. And when you do hotkey it, it's going to show up like a weapon, and or like a pistol. It's got the pistol icon. So I like to put that on, let's see, D-pad right, the first one. So I just can D-pad right, tap A, and it opens my landing bay. And the cool thing about it is it doesn't do anything really to help the game other than just the immersion of it. Oh, and you can also talk to Vasco and tell him to open or close it. It gives a dialogue option to open and close it. So that way, if you happen to have forgotten to bring it out of your inventory, and because by default the bay is always going to be closed when you land, it does not automatically open. So if you do the exit ship option from your captain's chair, it puts you right outside the ship, but the bay is still closed.
Okay.
And so obviously you could fast travel directly back into the ship, or you can talk to Vasco and get it out, or have him open it. Or you can go, if you don't have Vasco yet and there's an issue with your ship, fast traveling into it for whatever reason, maybe if you're overburdened, you can just go into your ship's cargo from distance when you set that in your settings correctly, and then you can just take it out of your cargo and get it that way. But as you can imagine, it just allows you to open and close your landing bay whenever you want. There are also landing bay ramp controls inside the bay itself. A new little console here that he put in there. So if you go down into the bay, it's cool because then the door's shut. And then you just have to open it.
I wish that area you were able to decorate in the landing bay area, because with this mod, it actually, if you step in and you close the door, you're in your own cell.
Yeah. I mean, you're still technically outside, even though you're in the cell inside the bay. You're still technically outside your ship. But I get what you're saying. That would be nice.
Well, you could add some cargo boxes and some med stuff. Maybe put a medical, what do you call, like a gurney?
Yeah.
Emergency. I mean, most of the time, if you're landing, you're probably going to get into a firefight. So
yeah,
makes sense to have a gurney there just in case somebody gets shot on your landing crew.
Yep. Well, that's like, from a roleplay perspective, I always like to put stuff inside my the little med box. That's all the landing bays have, a little med box. I'll put a med pack and other random stuff in there just to have it in there.
Yeah.
But I like the immersion of it, because when I'm on a hostile environment or out where I'd be concerned about spacers potentially invading, even though that never happens, would be awesome if that was actually a thing, but it doesn't happen. I still like to close the ramp, when I leave the ship. What's really neat is when you do open it from your captain's chair, you can actually hear the sound of it opening. And so I'll stand up, because what I do is I stand up from my chair. As soon as I stand up, I hit my hotkey. I can hear it opening as I'm running through the ship to get to my bed, to whatever bed I have near my landing bay, to then leave the ship. And that's because I'll sleep for my 1 hour to get my my quick 10% XP bonus. And then so definitely check that mod out.
Yeah. And who makes that mod?
This mod is made, hold on a second. This is Skinny Pig 2 is the mod author for this one. Skinny Pig 2. And I'll put a link in the description below for you guys.
And you're getting that on Steam, right?
Nexus.
Nexus,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, I pretty much always download from Nexus. I don't risk downloading from Creations unless I have to. Then I'll download it. Or like for example, Darkstar. I went ahead and did that one through Creations just to kind of go through the official process to the $10 and everything for Wicked.
Right. It is available for Xbox. Same one. Guinea Pig 2. Yep, immersive landing ramp. So it is available on Creations for Xbox. So
yep,
you can get it there also.
Oh, it is. It is in the Creations menu on Xbox. Nice.
He's got
quite a few mods.
He's got quite a few. Looks like he's got 1, 2, 3,
32,
4, 5. He's got 5 paid, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. 45 total mods on Creations.
Ooh.
And they look like they range in all kinds of stuff.
Bunk assignment clipboards.
What is it?
Bunk assignment clipboards. So
that's the one I need.
Yeah.
This is the guy that makes that. Okay. Because I want to assign my doctor.
Yeah.
Doctor's tab. So she's there. I can never find her when I come running in and I got,
Well,
frostbite.
So I don't know how this one works, but the little image, it shows a clipboard with Sarah's name on it, and she's on the wall right next to the head of the bed. So now there is a mod that allows you to assign to Habs, which, for the doctor, definitely would want that one. Assign her to the infirmary or wherever you're going to put her.
Yeah.
Simple.
There's a couple in my infirmary. I could just assign her to. I mean, if nobody's sick, she can sleep on the gurney.
Well, yeah, I sleep on the gurney because I have the immersive infirmaries or functional infirmaries. So then that way it allows me to,
Yeah, I get a little spooky with trying to mix and match a bunch of stuff to make other things work to patch this and do it. I'm like, man, I already have enough troubles keeping all my mods working right. And I just kind of stay to I got like 45 or 50 or so. But I try to keep them to where they're not a lot of one stepping on the others. But so that's a neat mod, yeah. That's great for immersion.
Yeah.
Keep your car locked when you're not there.
Oh, that's cool. Constellation Ship Builder palette. Replaces the default recent colors in the ship builder with the palette used by Constellation and in Starfield promotional material. And I love those colors. There's no greens in it, but I usually don't do much green or brown. But it's got your black and shades of gray with white, a dark red, a couple shades of blue, yellow, and orange.
Yellow, orange, red, and another blue.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of stuff on here. Sarah Morgan dialogue enhanced. Landing bay, cargo access, landing bay cargo access. He's got some t-shirts. He's got
accurate flashlight. Rotates the flashlight texture to match its orientation with that of the Constellation space helmet.
Isn't that just your head direction? I mean, if your flashlight's here.
I assumed so, but maybe he realized the orientation wasn't perfect and he did that mod to kind of fix it. So,
because if you look at the Constellation space helmet, the flashlight is kind of off to the side.
Yeah, it's like on the top right. Okay.
Yeah. So instead of coming out, where it's just light coming out of your face, if you're doing first person, it feels like the light coming out of your face. This way it moves the light source up and above your head kind of a little bit, maybe. I don't know, maybe.
All right. Next up for your mod, go ahead and tell us about it.
Yeah, today I'm going to be talking about a mod called PraxisUI Inventory. This is it's an inventory mod. This is specifically, I'm talking about Xbox. Probably if you're on PC, you've probably got a lot of options for inventory management and whatnot. Having mod, what are they called? Mod controllers? What's the mod managers?
Yep,
right?
mod manager. Yep, Nexus and
Yeah, you can't have that on Xbox. So this particular mod, what it does is it adds a bunch of different categories when you look at your inventory. So that if you are, say, looking at your ship's inventory and you go under guns and you've got 85 guns in your ship inventory, well, now you can look them up by damage, starting either highest damage or lowest damage. You can go through and start looking them up by rate of fire, by damage per second, by magazine size, by ammo type, that's one of the ones I find really handy. If I'm like last night, I was playing and I needed to find an explosive gun to get my hand grenading skill up because you have to have so many explosive kills. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, if I just go grab one of these 40 XPL guns, so I go to my ship, I look up 40 XPL under the gun tab, and it brings me up 4 or 5 selections. Boom, right there. Okay, these are the guns I can choose from. Instead of having to look through the whole list of 85 and, okay, do I want this one? Do I go up a little bit and go back down? So it's really handy that it can, you can do by value, highest to lowest, by weight, highest to lowest. It shows you when you're looking at your inventory, like if you're looking at your food or your meds, it'll show you how many you have on hand on your personal inventory and how many you have total, like between you and your ship. So it may say on the left side, it may have a little number 3 because you have 3 med packs. On the right side, it may have a number of 65 because you've got a total of 65, but only 3 on you. So it really helps organize what you're doing, where you're finding, how quick it is to find what you're looking for, where it's at, bring it up, and it's a simple, easy mod. It's not a heavy mod. It doesn't do a whole lot. The one thing I did find was when I first started using it, it was a little finicky on load order. And I put it in a spot where I thought it was supposed to go, and then sometimes when I would start the game, it would show up and it would work. Sometimes it wouldn't. But I think I've figured out that it goes kind of pretty high up in my load order, I believe. And it stays there, and it works every time now. So I've not had any issue lately. So, yeah, it's one of my always there mods. I don't play a playthrough without this mod now. It's just that it just helps me that much.
I'll have to try it out because there was a UI inventory mod I tried using at one point a while back and wasn't a fan of it. I do like the idea of having more categories, like keys being in their own category, contraband being in its own. Contraband is probably the number one thing I'd like to have its own category.
Or if you're flying in and you don't realize that it's on you, it's easy to immediately go to your inventory, find it, swap it over to the ship cargo so that you can evade the scan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot of little uses like that. That's just super helpful.
Yeah. Well, folks, do hope you enjoyed this episode today talking about some mods. And in our next episode, we're actually going to get into the Watchtower mod. So stay on the lookout for that. That should drop just a couple days after because we've already got both those episodes recorded. I just have to edit them. So today was just a quick one doing some quick mod talk. Next episode will be dedicated solely to the Watchtower mod. Any last words, Jax?
Stuff scary going on right now. So all you guys keep your head on a swivel, be situationally aware with what's going on. And as always, drive fast, take lots of chances.
All right, and we will see you in the Starfield.
Well, that was some fine work on the pressure.
Get out of here, Dusty. You're on to bigger things.